I'm an idiot moron. I spent this entire time asking, oh, where's my phone? I have no idea where my phone is. Oh, I'm freaking out about my phone. I'm fucking filming with it. Moron. Hi friends, it's Rory, and today I'm gonna go over a couple of my favorite books. The reason is because I'm still so new to BookTube, and I've gotten a few subscribers, which, by the way, let me pause and say thank you so much for leaving a comment or subscribing. Like, my heart feels so much joy over you guys. Thank you so much. But seeing as I'm still so new and you don't know a lot about me still, I thought kind of talking about my favorite books would be a great way to kind of get to know me as a person. So, to quote the great Philip DeFranco, let's just jump right into it. So I'm actually going to get started on the books that I don't physically have with me, either because I own them via audiobook or I'm letting other people borrow them. First one I'm going to talk about is Ella Enchanted, which has been one of my favorite books since I was a wee lad. Lad is... You dumb bitch. Which has been one of my favorite books since middle school. If you haven't read Ella Enchanted, it's great. If you've only watched the movie Ella Enchanted, read the book because it's a million times better. Ella Enchanted, it's a Cinderella retelling, basically, but it's so much more than that. It follows a girl named Ella who, when she was born, a fairy cursed her with the gift of obedience. So anytime someone gives her a task to do or orders her around, she has to follow it. The story is really about how she falls in love with the prince, and she is trying to break her own curse. And it's so good. 10 out of 10. Also, if you are a fan of Cinderella retellings where the prince and Cinderella know each other and are friends beforehand, you will love this book. Prince Charmant is the best prince of all time. I love him. By the way, Ella Enchanted is by Gail Carson Levine. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I've never actually looked up how to pronounce it. I should probably do that. Howls Moving Castle by Diane Wayne Jones. Howl is a garbage man, and I am so in love with him. Oh my gosh. If you've only seen the Studio Ghibli film of Howl's Moving Castle, which I'm not riding on at all. It's my favorite Studio Ghibli film of all time. But like, if you've only seen that movie, I highly recommend reading the book about a girl named Sophie, who is the oldest in her family of 3 sisters, and she thinks that because she's the oldest, adventure is not going to happen to her. But then one day she accidentally insults one of the most powerful witches in the world, and she's given the curse of becoming an old woman, and so she goes off on her own adventure and meets Howl, who has a moving castle, and he's known as kind of a wizard that eats girls' hearts. And it's so good. It's so good. Sophie and Howl is just chef's kiss. They're amazing. The next book on my list is Just Listen by Sarah Dessen. Now, if you watch my BookTube newbie tag, you know that Sarah Dessen is one of my favorite authors of all time, and Just Listen is a big part of that. I first read that book in my 7th grade year. Found it in my school library, and I read it, and it made me cry, and it still makes me cry to this day. Just Listen is the story about Annabelle, and on the last day of school the previous year, she went to a party and something happened. Spoilers, I'm not gonna say, but something happened that resulted in her kind of drawing back from all of her friends, especially her best friend, who now hates her. Along with that, she is dealing with the fact that her oldest sister is in New York going to school. Her middle sister is has an eating disorder and is currently in therapy, and she doesn't want to be a model anymore, and she's too afraid to tell her mother because since she's the only one left modeling, she's worried that it's going to break her heart. And she meets a boy named Owen who kind of teaches her how to stand up for herself, and they're so cute. Owen is beautiful, and Annabelle is beautiful, and this book is beautiful, and I cried reading it, and I still cry reading it, so I highly recommend it. This is just gonna be me being like, oh my gosh, this book made me cry. You need to read it so that you can cry too. The next book is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller. Song of Achilles is a retelling of the Achilles myth, where Patroclus, the best friend of Achilles, is the point of view. And so if you know the story of Achilles, you know how this book ends. But along with that, the story is not only about how the legend of Achilles came to be, it's also about the relationship between Achilles and Patroclus. I read this book on audiobook. I highly recommend the audiobook. It's 10 out of 10. This book emotionally destroyed me. I have Circe, also by Madeline Miller, waiting to be listened to on audiobook, and I'm too afraid to read it because I remember driving. This is back when I lived with my parents, so it was an hour and 15 minutes every single day to get to work, and I would listen to audiobooks the entire drive. And for 3 days, I would just get in my car and I would immediately start crying at what was happening, and I'd get to work and people would be like, have you been crying? And I'm just like, yep, that's my brand. And then I would leave work, get back in my car, and immediately start crying because the last 3 hours of the audiobook is just heartbreaking. I might cry just thinking about it right now. The Song of Achilles is one of those books that I legitimately went to my best friend / roommate, and I was just like, this book emotionally destroyed me, and I need you to read it so that I'm not the only one in pain. And that's all for the books that I don't physically have on me. Now let's move to this monster pile. So the first one is it's Harry Potter, but specifically Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite Harry Potter book. I love it so much, especially this cover. The next one, and I'm gonna be hardcore judge this, but it's the All for the Game series by Nora Stakovich. Forget how ugly this cover is. I know this series is trash. I know it's trash, but I am trash for it. Ugh. Okay, if you don't know what the All for the Game series is, it's the story of a boy named Neil Jostin who is scouted for a college XE team, which XE is the sport in here. It's fictional. It's basically more extreme lacrosse. And he goes there and finds a family. But along with that, he's dealing with the fact that his father is a crime lord, and there is a mafia in this. It's basically a sports mafia. Once again, I know this book is trash, but I love it so much. Neil Jostin could ask me to eat dirt, and I would do it happily. I would die for Neil Jostin. And just so you know about me, I'm a slut for found family. This has it so good. Neil is my baby because Neil is one of those characters that just like, I'm fine, but he's really not fine. Like, in this book specifically, this page, the orange is for every single time Neil says he's fine, but it legitimately says, "I'm fine, Neil lied." I love him! Anyways, so just so you know, this has a whole bunch of stuff. It has an in-depth torture scene. It has rape, and it has lots of talk about like drugs and alcohol and things. It's not for everyone, but once again, I'm trash for this series, and I won't apologize for it. Okay, so the next one, and just so you know, before I bring this up, this is a custom cover that I have. I ordered a set of custom covers for the series because I love it so much, and I will find and link where I got these custom covers from it, and that is The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. This is The Raven Boys. Love this cover. That's why I got it custom. I love The Raven Chronicles. It's one of my favorite series of all time. I read it all the way through, and then I discovered the audiobook, which if you haven't listened to the Raven Cycle audiobook, do yourself a favor. Oh my god. I also told every single person in my life about this series, and now they are all obsessed with it. And if you don't happen to know what The Raven Cycle is about, it's about a girl named Blue who lives in a family of psychics, and she's been told ever since she was a young girl that when she kisses the boy that she loves, he will die. And she ends up meeting a group of friends who go to a private school in her town who are known as the Raven Boys, and they go on a hunt for a dead Welsh king. And I love it. I love it so much. Once again, a slut for a found family trope. Ugh. But also just like every single character in this is 10 out of 10. Even the villains. I love the villains. And I'm just like... And the sequel series is coming out, and I've never been so nervous for a sequel in my life. Let's pray to the gods that it'll be good. Now the next one, I know for a fact no one knows about it, because like just no one knows about it. And that is The Gay Teen's Guide to Defeating a Siren by Cody Wagner. This is the second one, because the first one my roommate is currently borrowing. This is probably my favorite book series of all time. It's not even a joke. I read both of these books. This book is so fucking good, and no one knows about it, and it's a shame because it's amazing. The Gay Teen's Guide to Defeating a Siren is the story about a boy named Blaze Trails, which don't worry, they make plenty of jokes about it. And in the book, he goes to a funeral for his friend's uncle who is a gay man, and there's a protest there about kind of like a Westboro Baptist Church type protest thing. And he gets super duper mad and goes home and writes "I'm gay" on a piece of paper because he can't tell anyone, and he falls asleep on it, and then his mom comes to wake him up, and he lifts his head and it says "I'm gay" backwards. So he outs himself by accident, and his parents send him to a gay conversion camp. But the gay conversion camp, or school, it's not a camp, the gay conversion school is not all that it seems, and I can't say anything else because it's a spoiler, but this series, I live every single day. I go to Cody Wagner's Twitter every single day to see if he has announced anything about the third book. Read this book. You can get it for free on Kindle Unlimited. You can, if you want this gorgeous cover, this was less than $10. Both of them were less than $10, and I read this probably once every other month. I love this book so much. So the next book is Fangirl by Rainbow Rowell. This is another big one, so I'm sure that you've heard about it. But it's the story of a girl named Kath, who is one of the most popular fanfic writer for Simon Snow. And she is going to her first year of college, and she's dealing with the fact that she's leaving her father, who is not the best at being alone, and the fact that her twin sister doesn't really want to kind of be with her, and the fact that she doesn't really want to be at college. She's not even sure what she wants to do in life besides write fan fiction for Simon Snow. My roommate is reading this right now, and every single time she comes in, because she's listening to the audiobook, every single time she comes home, she tells me, "You are so like Kath, it is unbelievable." And that's one reason why I love this so much, because I am Kath. I think one day I'm going to do a video on characters that I identify with, because Kath is one of them. It's really good. If you are a fan of like fandom culture and fan fiction, and surprisingly enough, Harry Potter, if you're a fan of any of those, then I highly recommend it. Also, you can read Simon Snow's series, because it's a series that Rainbow Rowell wrote. And the last book that I'm going to talk about is Pride and Prejudice. What do I have to say about Pride and Prejudice? Every single person on this earth, I'm pretty sure, knows what Pride and Prejudice is about. But this book specifically is important to me because my grandmother bought me this book. And that's why I have it. It's not the prettiest version, but I can't get rid of it because she bought it for me. Anyways, this has been me talking about my favorite books and screaming about how good they are. If you want to leave a comment telling me what your favorite book is, if I haven't read it, I will see what it's about and maybe put it on my want to read list. Other than that, I'm gonna go probably have some lunch now. So bye for now, guys.